Hey gang, today we're going to do something a little different than I've ever done before. I hope you guys like it. I'm going to paint Negan from the Walking Dead All Out War box set. This is an expansion to the All Out War game for the Walking Dead. So I set up this little rig. It's all kind of experimental. I hope you guys enjoy it, but without further ado, let's get right into it. Negan from the Walking Dead painted. Hey gang, thanks for tuning in. So I have a wide variety of paints. I've been sort of collecting paints too, and the ones that haven't dried out over the years, of course, I've kept and I just keep using them. I don't have any loyalty to any particular brand of paint. I really like them all. I, of course, started off with the Games Workshop paints, and I've gradually started kind of working my way out to a bunch of other different brands and really just kind of experimenting with different things. I always like to start with the flesh. Usually the flesh is a really small area, and it's a good way to kind of just get some paint going on there and start making it look a little bit more alive. I decided Negan would have some jeans on, and I found an appropriate blue that I've been using for a lot of the different Walking Dead miniatures. I'm a little bit sloppy, especially at first with my paints and stuff. I just go for getting them on there, and I just go for the different color palettes. And I get them on there the best I can, and then I like to just go back over it and I'll touch it up later. So what you'll see for me is not the most accurate paint job ever. I've been watching a lot of other painters online, and man, they do a really fantastic job. I think I've said before, I'm practically blind. I really can't see very well at all. And I like for my miniatures to be in the... I want them to look good, you know, as you're looking at them from the tabletop. The type of paint jobs I do are not really meant to get really even as close up as you're seeing them now. I tried to do maybe a little bit better job with this Negan than maybe I normally would on some of my other paint jobs, but really, with a model like this, it's exceedingly simple. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, wow, I don't have the patience for painting," or I couldn't see that well. But the thing is, I mean, if you can color in a coloring book, you can paint one of these. I mean, it's a pretty basic thing. This item of clothing is this color, and this item of clothing is that color, and you just run through the paints that you have and fill in the blank spots. This is lightly primed with a Games Workshop primer. And I do recommend that for especially the plastic models and stuff. Another good thing to do is give it a nice little wash with soap and water. And that just makes sure that you get all the residue that they put on there to release it from the mold. You want to make sure that that's off there. Something different about this model I'm painting and a lot of the other Mantic models too is that it comes in one piece. It doesn't have to be assembled at all. A lot of times if they need to be assembled or something like that, then you have the advantage of being able to paint in places where it would be really difficult to get to. I got to about this part in the model when I discovered that he had this red bandana, and you'll see in a minute there, I'm trying to very carefully maneuver in there to get his red bandana painted. Since I was on black anyway, I went ahead and did the hair for Negan here, and I don't know how I got the hair on as good as I did. If you look at that brush, it's completely fracked. And I try to use my brushes as long as I can, but sometimes I fight a little bit too much when I should just grab a newer brush and use it. But I try to use them as long as possible. And I finished off the base for this guy too. Just give it a nice coat of black that I can dry brush over later. It's just so much harder to do this sort of thing when the thing's already assembled. Where if this was a Games Workshop model, for example, those arms would probably not be on there, and I would have the option of you can see I'm breaking out the fine brush here. Need something a little bit more precise to kind of sneak in there under his chin and under his arm to get that red bandana painted. But like I said, if this was a Games Workshop model, those arms would not be attached, and I would probably paint paint his body and his arms and stuff, and then attach the arms and finish it off that way, just to make this process a little less stressful. I did get like a little red paint on the face, a little red paint on the jacket. I try not to worry about that. These initial layers, these first layers that I'm doing of all these colors, they just kind of establish what the color is going to be. Then I go in with a nicer brush and I fill it in. At this point, I think I've got all the base colors down except for metal. I'm going to do a little metal barbed wire on that baseball bat. Yep, there it is. So I'm going to finish off with that metal there, and then it'll be time to just go through and I'll just touch up all the little problem areas that I see. And it's just the little things, and that's where you can afford to get really detail oriented. And it's funny, there's a lot of details on these things that you really don't notice, especially until you give them that coating of primer. For me, the primer isn't just about helping the paint stick to the model really well. It's for it really brings out the details, because when it's just this flat gray, there's a lot of stuff you really just don't see. But when you paint it, even if you prime it black, I notice that I really see a whole lot of details come out, and it makes it a lot easier to paint it in general. All right, so now I've got all the base colors down, and I'm going back through, and I'm just doing a little touch-up here and there. A lot of times I'll use my fingernail to get the paint consistency right to where I want it, especially for a dry brush. And you can see I'm just kind of gently moving over this knife. And what it'll do is it leaves most of the under layer the same color, but it just kind of puts this light top color on that can define the detail. Dry brushing is a very, very easy way to tackle a lot of difficult projects on really small surfaces like you see on these models. Now it's time for an ink wash, and this is another thing that really takes these models and makes them look a little bit extra special. It takes a little bit of practice to get the right consistency of water. But what I do is I'll dip it in some water, and then I dip it in some ink, and I try to get sort of a 50-50 mix of that water and ink onto the brush. And then I just apply it in areas. And people that are much better than this will actually have a number of different shades. They'll have a different shade for the skin, and they'll have a different shade for the pants, and or different areas of the body and that sort of thing. So there are brown ones and purple ones and black ones. This just has a basic black wash over the entire thing. Just for this video, I thought I'd try to do something a little extra special and actually paint eyes. I really, really hate trying to paint eyes on models. And I've got this brush that's super tiny. I think it's called the Insane brush or something like that. What I do is I start with a white, and then I touch it up with the flesh. I just try to make sure that white is contained in there, and he doesn't have like one big crazy eye or something like that. And then the next step for me is usually to try and go in there with that black and just try and paint a tiny little dot in there the best I can. And then I'll usually do the eyebrows too. Luckily, he's got black hair, so the eyebrows and the eyeballs and all were the same color. And now what I'm going to do is I'm dry brushing some gray onto the jacket. So I'll just take kind of a dark gray, but I want to make those highlights of the jacket, I want to make them show up so you can see all those wrinkles and stuff, but I still want it to look black. That gray, what it does is it kind of gives the illusion of sunlight, kind of causing a nice, shiny, reflective texture of the leather on there. And like I said, dry brush is one of those great ways to bring out the details in these miniatures and stuff like that. And another thing I do is after I wash, I like to go around with the base coat. And sometimes I dry brush and sometimes I wet brush a little bit more. But I'll go back over with the same colors that I've done before, but I just try to hit the high spots. And a lot of people that are very good at painting miniatures, one thing that they do a lot is they go through and they'll actually maybe mix a little bit of white with that original color, and they really layer it up. And I've seen layers of people will paint pants and layer them up like 5 or 6 layers. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that for this miniature. I have done that before with some more complicated miniatures. I'd say they're just a little bit more worthy of a project like that. But for this, I wanted to keep it really simple. I want it to be the most basic kind of beginner kind of thing possible. And here you'll see, I'm highlighting the pants, but I'm basically just using the same color. I mean, they've had that ink wash, so now they're a little bit darker than they were before. So when I hit those highlights, when I hit those wrinkles and stuff with a dry brush with just a little bit of that original color paint on there, it really makes it stand out, and it really gives it a lot of interesting contrast. And of course, I'm going to have to finish off Lucille with a little bit of red gore, just to kind of keep it thematic. It actually made that barbed wire really stand out quite a bit, and looked pretty good. And again, a couple of final touches with the leather and the pants and stuff, just to make sure that it was looking as good as possible. I really do like to make them look, as good as I can. And this painting probably in total took about maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It really doesn't take that long to do one of these. A lot of times I'll have a TV show going or something like that, and I just sit around and I paint while I watch it. Or more than likely what I'm doing is I'm listening to a show and I just and I paint while it's going. This is a great thing to do if you've got a bunch of podcasts that you like. I love to throw in a good gaming podcast or podcasts on other subjects, and I just listen away while I paint. And this is me just kind of finishing off the base. Again, dry brush for some texture on that base. And I really like to finish my bases off with black all around the perimeter. I think it makes it look a lot cleaner. And this is Negan. Pretty much painted up, pretty much done. I think he came out pretty good. Not bad at all. If you guys have some advice, if you've got a favorite technique you want to tell me about, if there's anything else that you'd like to see in a video like this, be sure to let me know. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out and watching me today. And we'll be back with more of these soon, maybe. We'll find some other stuff. Let me know what your favorite thing to see painted would be, and I'll do my best to do that for you. Hey guys, so I hope you liked this video. Like I said, it's something different. Next video I'm going to do is Execution Force. It's a Games Workshop board game. It's a cooperative board game put out by them. It's got some really neat models in it and a pretty neat thematic ambiance to it. It's a great little game, and I can't wait to tell you guys about it. Did you guys like this video? Do you want to see more stuff painted? What kinds of things would you like to see painted? Do you want to see things done in a different way? Let me know in the comments down below. So until next time, follow your bliss, play more games, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.